I'm Nate Troyer. I am an engineer and account executive at Corsica Technologies, and I'm here today talking with Wes
DeConick. So I'm Wes. You almost had it.
without saying it.
Yeah,
I
I can
almost
see
had
it in your eye, Nate.
I'll let you say it.
Sure. But I'm Wes DeConick. I'm Director of Digital Transformation here at Corsica.
Yeah, and we're here to talk more about AI. So, we have Wes here today to kind of discuss how you really get started down the road of implementing AI in your organization, because AI is a buzzword. It's pretty cool now. And we've had some other podcasts discussing, products like Copilot, or the difference between like a Chat GPT and Copilot, and what that can offer, like at least at the executive level, what can be offered there. But like, if I'm an executive, I'm like, all right, well, so it makes administrative work easier. But how do I really like start implementing that? I mean, do I buy new? Do I let a guy like Nate build something from scratch? Right. So where does that entry point really start?
Yeah, and it's a really common question that I'm getting from clients when they say, cool, AI is everywhere, Microsoft has AI, do I go buy the thing? Do I just start using it? Do I hire someone to tell me how to use it? How do we really get started with this? And I think buying something and trying, or just building something and trying, are probably not the right approaches. I think trying, then buying is the right approach. So in general, I try to take a framework approach to it, where you want to look for your AI people in your business. So your AI evangelists are out there in your business, your early adopter type of individuals, right? Those people exist around your organization, and they're all over it. You need to go find them, and you need to pull them together, and then you need to have a conversation, because there's free tools available. You set them to task and say, hey guys, take these free tools. Here are your guardrails, which you and Brian have talked about, in other
Please
videos.
Don't put, personal information or things like about our clients into Chat GPT.
Yes. So, but there's a structured way to go about testing out these tools without putting your secret information out there, to make it part of the public domain. So you find these evangelists, you set them to task with, hey, explore. Take what you do every day, find the mundane task, interact with these tools. Here are some possible use cases, but explore and experiment. So find the individuals, let them experiment, and then analyze those findings. And then you kind of come up with a list of things that, hey, these things were actually impacted positively by AI. And again, at this point, there's no cost because you're using free tools, right?
Yeah.
So you refine those use cases, and once you have that, you actually have people to evangelize AI, so you're going to get good adoption of the tool, and people will use it and get the benefits. You have no cost, virtually, other than time and experimentation, and you have a plan. That's something you can take to your primary stakeholders or your business owners and say, hey, here is the business case for AI, and here are the costs involved. Here are the tools that we're using. What do you guys think? Yeah. Rather than just spending the money and hoping it works out in the end.
Yeah, this is where you don't want someone like me, like running the show, because I've never met an engineer who could. Well, I guess I have. I've met a couple, but they're like unicorns that can sell the business use case for something. They're usually thinking like, man, this will make my life easier, and we need it. But I can't really articulate it past that. So
yeah, and it's very specific to what they're doing. You have to think this tool has broad use cases at every organization.
Yep.
Whether you're trying to draft an email or a document marketing material, need help with coding, across the organization.
Creating a PowerShell script.
Yeah. So there's so many things that you can do with it. The problem is, because there's so many things, because there's so many tools, and there's a lot of newness to this whole thing, people just don't know where to begin. And really, you have to just begin.
Yep.
You try some things. You get in there, you see what works, what doesn't work, and you start to write that stuff down and talk about it with the people at your organization, and that's how you're going to ultimately have success. And you can do all that prior to investing in any technology.
So what are the examples that you can give of some of the integration with AI that is like the low-hanging fruit, the where you can just start using AI or try it? Which ones have you come across?
So a lot of the use cases are mostly with content generation that we're seeing. So, I mean, that's really the big buzz that's out there right now. It's right, it'll help you write an email, create a proposal. It'll help you analyze documents and things like that. So, getting it to understand what you need to interact with from a data standpoint is kind of difficult if you really want to dive deep. But that's what I would view as a later stage in AI adoption. The early stages, help me make this document better. Or I'm writing an email to the CEO about a thing. I don't want it to sound like me. I want it to sound professional. Can you help me with this? So they're using it to modify content that they're generating. They're using it to do things like this podcast. Like if they wanted to start something like this, they can lower a barrier of entry by saying, give me some topics that we can talk about because I'm having writer's block or I'm not super creative. So they're helping people with creativity. So, I'd say clerical tasks, document generation, creative tasks like marketing, design, things like that. It's really helping those types of individuals without any additional effort. Beyond those use cases, you're looking at help me code better, help me solve this problem, help me understand this data. That will require a deeper level of integration because the AI needs the context of the information. It needs to be grounded in what details and data you want to talk to.
So from an engineering standpoint, what is the engineer's involvement in this? Is there any like training that has to happen to the AI? Is there any coaching that you need to do? Or is that like an organizational-wide thing? If you're bringing in people from different parts of the org, can they all participate in training the AI?
Yeah, they all can, and they all can have their own use cases and experiment. If you're really wanting to go beyond that, you will need engineer involvement, or again, it's just going to depend on your data set. So if you're talking about all of the data that you have inside of Microsoft.
What's a data set?
What's a data set? Types of data. So,
okay.
Let's think, customer data, client invoices, agreements, systems that they use, the types of different programs that have data. So a data set would be a type of data.
Okay. So you're giving the AI context.
Yeah, exactly. You're saying go use that information and find out this thing about it.
Okay.
So you're telling it what to do and where to go, and it does it. Now, if it doesn't have access, and again, for this trial and error type of thing, it's not going to have access to the secret sauce of your company, so it may not be able to perform those in-depth tasks. With Microsoft Copilot for 365, you can turn that on for select users, and it will have your tenant-wide data. But again, guardrails, make sure it's secure.
It's so awesome.
It is cool.
It's great.
I've used it for various things that I didn't even think I would.
I've used it mostly to ask can you please give me the HR documentation on what is allowed to be said in the office? I use that all the time. Yeah. All the time.
Yes. And it shows. We've seen a drastic improvement.
Yes.
We really have.
From like an advanced standpoint, when you start getting past the it helps me make the document better or whatever, and make those menial tasks a little easier to execute every day.
Right.
Are we seeing companies like adopt the AI in a form of like reporting, to use it in reporting and things like that?
Yeah, a lot of them are, but these are larger organizations usually because, if we come back to, what is the engineer's role here? It's about taking that data and getting into a system that the AI can interact with. So that does require integration of sorts. That has to allow the AI to say, hey, you can go talk to that system now. So when I ask you a question about my customers, tell me who my most active customer is, it needs to know what's a customer. Where do I find data about this customer? So you have to train the AI through the use of configuration and other tools to say, when I say I want to know something about a customer, you need to go there to look for it. Don't just start searching the web. When I ask about a customer, go to my CRM. When I ask about invoicing, go to my finance system. When I ask about analysis for profit and loss, I want you to go to my other accounting system. So you have to tell the AI, when you understand that I want this thing and this is what this means, here's where you go to get your data to be able to pass that back to me.
Interesting. AI is not really doing magic, right? Well, the AI we're talking about is not really doing a lot of magic. It's finding similarities between data points, right? Like it's making connections.
Yes, absolutely.
But those connections can be pretty powerful, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like they can help you plan out your company's next quarter, 2 quarters, next year, about what you want to do. So what has your team been doing with AI recently? You can give me some sanitized
examples. So we have been using it a lot for coding to expedite what we're doing from a code-based perspective, right? So it's like, I could spend all day troubleshooting this issue, but if I say, hey, GitHub Copilot, here's my code, here's my application, here's what it's supposed to do, why doesn't this work, And it could say, well, this is supposed to be doing this, and you have a problem right here, and you're like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Or I'm stuck, or can you tell me about this plugin, or what's the best thing I should be using for this? It really helps expedite that. It's not solving the problem for you. It's not coding for you. It is providing you with a path forward. It's helping you get unstuck and move forward. So,
yeah, you still have to know. Like, I mean, 6 months ago, I had, I think, somebody from our service desk, asked me for a PowerShell script to do X because he thought I had it. And I just, 5 minutes with ChatGPT, asked it a couple of questions. I gave it some guardrails. I kept scoping in what I needed it to do. And I handed him a PowerShell script. He's like, "That's amazing! Like, how did you do that so quickly?"
And you
like,
just pointed to your head, right?
Because
It
I
was
said
all
it was
me.
all me. It's all me, buddy.
Yeah.
No. I said that actually is ChatGPT. You still have to know what you're trying to accomplish, and have to know what solution it's providing, and maybe what outcome it's providing too. So you have to test everything that it gives you. You can't just blindly follow it. But it was remarkably accurate.
Yeah.
It was like 85-90% of the way there.
Right.
And all I had to do was fill in the last 10%. So, it's fun to use it in those ways.
Yes.
Because you're like, man. So I just cut out 2 hours of time, writing this PowerShell script, dealing with ICE. This is just from an engineer standpoint, right?
Right.
Imagine what it could do for someone in the C-suite who is essentially needs to have bullet points provided to them for what their next steps are on an email chain that's like 3 miles long, right?
Yeah.
That's great. Or say if you're like in a law firm or something like that and you're doing, case prep, right? I mean, if you had all that data in a data lake somewhere like in M365 and you ask Copilot, give me the high points of this case, that I need to be, focusing on, and let it do that.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And then you go verify and follow on with that information.
Yep.
But yeah, so expediting those tasks, that's one of the things that we're using it for in code or things like that for all of our systems and internally and for clients. Another thing we're working on is just interacting with sentiment. So trying to understand, like clients say, hey, I need a thing. I want to do a thing. Creating very specific chatbots that are backed by these. And this is one of the biggest benefits, I would say, of the large language model AI is just giving you the ability to talk to computers as a person, where prior to AI kind of blowing up, it was I needed an engineer to talk to computers and data. I told the engineer what my outcome was, right? Here's what I want to achieve. And the engineer's like, let me think about that. Okay, here's how I'll go about doing that. They'll build an application, they'll write a query, they'll do a thing, and they'll come back with the data you need, right? Well, the big benefit of AI in the large language model era is, hey, computer, I want to do this. Can you figure this out for me?
Yeah.
And the computer goes, I understand what you want to do, and here's the data I need. I'm going to figure this out for you. So it's giving more individuals the ability to have that conversation with data and technology through the use of this model that just can understand humans. So that's really one of the biggest benefits of it. It's kind of abstract, but it's really the power that lies behind this, not the fact that I can go get a report or something. That could have been done. I could have done that through an engineer, but it gives virtually anyone with access the ability to talk to that computer. The computer just needs to know what its rules are.
Yeah. It's a really interesting concept. Really, it's kind of nebulous because you don't really know what you can do with AI until you start trying.
Until you do it with AI.
Yeah, until you do it with AI. And you're like, oh my goodness. I prepped for a meeting the other day and asked it a couple questions about the cultural background that one of the people I was talking to was going to be a part of. And it's a little different than the Western American culture. And I said, like, well, how, just give me some ideas about how where their mindset could be and like what they value. And it was interesting, the information it spat out to me. Yeah. And it worked. I carried myself a little differently in that conversation.
Given that context.
Yeah,
right?
given that context. So
it's big.
Yeah, it's an awesome space to be working in. I appreciate you having this conversation with us. I am really interested to see what a conversation with you would look like in about 6 months down the road, and check in with you to see about more.
Yeah, we're just cracking these eggs open because, again, you can do so much with it. It just becomes, what can I do with it? What should I do with it? What makes the most sense? And again, just like most people out there, this is new, right? This is new technology. They don't know. Well, it's new for us too in the technology industry. We're just seeing how we can interact with it and what makes sense, because you can do things with it. Doesn't mean you should. It's not the right answer for everything. But I think that's where the power is because we can do so many things, we can try so many things, right?
Yeah.
And so we're just getting this going. And I think the important thing is while it's great to experiment and try to understand how it benefits your organization, if you do it responsibly, it can have a ridiculous impact very quickly, you know? So having guardrails, having guidance is important in this process. And if you don't feel like you know what you're doing, get a consultant. You know, we're here. Have the conversation with people who understand the technology, understand businesses, and how to marry those two things together.
Yeah, and we want businesses to thrive.
Absolutely.
Yep. So, yeah, that's all we got. Thank you for watching Unraveling IT.